There's something about beginnings, isn't there? The birth of what could be. The vast unknown. The delicate opportunity and the will to persist. They take countless form, beginnings, each requiring distinctive creative effort. Testing us, calling for us to be greater, to do more, risk, run, grow, try, and dream. And there's something about dreaming, isn't there? The reckless abandon to free-flowing thought, the imagined spark, powerful and spectacular in its ability to revolutionize. Within dreams lives the stuff of hope, transforming lives, families, and communities. A dream will not grow to its full potential when fed by a single source. Great things are rarely accomplished alone and thrive when touched by the hands of a gracious community. And there's something about community, isn't there? A familiar thread tying us to one another, rich in resource and companionship, uncovering our best and returning it in spades. There is an undeniable strength and fortitude in camaraderie, expressed through service to our neighbors and nation. Extraordinary is the collective will of the many. When demonstrated at its pinnacle, community propels beginnings and dreams into everything they can be. We are our best when we are together.
Thank you for having me. James has been a great friend. Obviously, I had a low budget because he has me speaking. I'm not a speaker by nature, but I've challenged myself in the last couple years because our company has grown tremendously. And one of the things that I hate doing the most is speaking. So as I challenged my team, I took the challenge of I'm going to start speaking if I get asked. And ever since then, I get asked to speak all the time. And I normally say no. Couldn't say no to James because he's known me and my wife many years, and he was always good to us. But before I start, I want to acknowledge, is there any veterans in the room? If you guys could raise your hand. No, could you stand up, please? Military saved my life. But I want to thank you guys. I don't know for what reason you joined, but I can tell you guys that no matter why the reason, like mine, you'll hear shortly why I decided to serve. At the end of that, I was willing to die for this great country. And I get emotional because I get to travel a lot, and this is the best country by far than any other country, and we take it for granted. So I really mean it. Thank you guys. Thank you for your service. We live in an area for Fort Campbell, Kentucky. We're home of the 5th Special Forces Group, 160th Aviation, and the 101st Airborne. I was actually in the Air Force, but attached to Army units when I served. Again, I want to thank James. Like he was talking about earlier is when I met him, I think I was at the time doing a little bit of real estate and cleaning carpets, and struggling like every small business owner. We loved Clarksville. We had decided to stay there, and it was relationships that I'll get into because that's the main topic I want to discuss is building relationships. Whatever business you guys are in, I'm a little bit familiar with your line of work because I was on the CDE or Clarksville Utility Board, and I was also on the IDB board in Clarksville, Tennessee. So I'm familiar with the obstacles that you deal with. A gentleman speaker of all the things that we're dealing with when new industries coming in our town. We know about the lies and all the promises and what they're being vetted for. At the end of this talk, I would love for you to ask any questions because as you can see, I can be all over the place. And I want to entertain any questions that I might be able to help out with. Can't start without acknowledging my wife, Lily. If you would stand up, please. She's been real instrumental in my success. And when you first hear her, I know the number one thing you're thinking is like, how does she catch him? And it was many years of her trying, and she finally succeeded. But all joking aside, you saw the little video of our Millan Enterprises, which is our core business, which is what I'm passionate about, is real estate development. We do commercial, a little bit industrial, warehouses, multifamily. We also have a ServPro business, which if you're familiar with, it's the green trucks that you see around. We're the largest, we go back and forth with another ServPro, but we're either the top or the second license holder in the country, where we have offices in Florida, Texas, Tennessee, 2 in Tennessee, and I think we have a total of 24 licenses. So I'm familiar with the different states and working with different people. We currently average about 1,000 full-time employees, and it fluctuates. We also have a labor company, which I know you guys here, similar in Tennessee, we struggle with workforce. Out of necessity, we started a labor company that would provide labor for emergency situations, and it led for us to start staffing factories during COVID. Is really when it got really busy, when everybody decided to stop working for whatever reason. But we were able to staff those factories, and it's led to military contracts. Now our niche really is getting people that are vetted into military installations. That if those of you that have ever worked in the government know, it's hard to get people that have all the qualifications in the military base. We have since started a foundation. We're big believers in giving back. For much is given, much is required. I'm a big believer in that. And going back to what I said, everybody here is in the people business. Our motto, as you saw in the video, if you were able to read, we really believe that we build great projects by building great people first. So our core is our people, our foundation is our people, and we stick with them and support them in whatever they're interested in doing. James got to see a little bit of us when we were starting off. I wish some of you could have seen that, because I think you'd be encouraged to know that anybody can succeed if you put your mind to it in this great country. I'm going to give a little bit of my backstory and my testimony. The house you see back there, I get a little bit emotional because when my mom got married, that's where she lived. We believe that's where I got conceived, believe it or not. And my mom struggled, and then she decided to come to America to not for her to get ahead, but just to give us a chance. Just imagine that, to have no hope other than to give me hope and my brothers. And so we ended up I was born in Anaheim, California, and grew up in Southern California. And unfortunately, we didn't have the best of upbringings. My wife as well, this family struggled a lot. We grew up in a majority Hispanic community, got involved with gangs, unfortunately, drugs. By the time I was 16, I was doing everything but shooting up heroin, cocaine, meth, you name it. We'd try it. I was a low-level drug dealer. Everybody thinks they want to be big time, or I'm not going to lie, because you're going to get called out here for lies with Google, like they say. So I was no big time dealer, but I started selling drugs at a lower scale, and I was heading in the wrong direction. It got so bad, I got so involved in the gangs that you can Google all this stuff. In 1993, for some weird reason, the Mexican mafia decided that drive-by shootings were no longer legal. So if you wanted to kill somebody, you had to get out of the car and do it. As silly as that may seem, it got taken really serious in California. So what ended up happening is a friend of mine was shot on a drive-by. So then it was like, what is the dilemmas here? Is what's going to happen? So the Mexican mafia decided that they would pick 5 people from each gang. They randomly picked us up at a park, and they took us to this random house. And we basically had almost like a cockfight, like 5 on 5, like handle it like men. And that story's significant because unfortunately, when you surround yourself with the wrong crowd, and in that case, me being able to participate in that, it gave me a bunch of street credibility that you probably wouldn't want, and it heads you in the even worse direction. I thought I was invincible to where, we would go to parties, we would hurt people. I get asked sometimes what are my biggest regrets in life, and I wouldn't change a lot of things that I do. The only thing I would change a lot, obviously, but not with the same result, because we end up because of the consequences or the decisions we make. But I hurt people, physically and emotionally, and that's one of the things that you can never take back, and I regret that. I ended up going to a party, and it ended up being a rival gang party. And it was only 5 of us, and it was about 30 of them. After a big old fight, I was stabbed with an ice pick. Ended up in the hospital for about a month. Punctured lung, stomach, diaphragm. If you saw my body, I have the surgical results. My body's riddled with tattoos, and they're all not good. As a matter of fact, if you Google, which is it's really funny, well, not funny, but if you Google Fullerton Tokers Town, which is the name of the gang that I was at, the first picture that comes up is me with 3 of my friends. I'm the last person on the right, and then there's some videos, and it gives some information about the gang. And unfortunately, again, this stabbing, I survived. A friend of mine also got stabbed, and he survived. Gave me more street credibility. But something happened within me. Thank God we had gang enforcement officers in California that obviously we hated at the time. And a couple of them would always tell me, is like, Leo, there's something different about you. What are you messing around with these guys? You're going to die. You're heading in the wrong direction. I had friends left and right dying. One of my best friends got shot and killed. Actually, Lily was involved with that in front of her. And, I have his name tattooed on my back of the arm. And so something clicked one day that I said, I think I'm heading in the wrong direction. I'm going to die. And I decided, it's a long story, but I decided to join the military. And when I decided to join the military, it really changed my life. It really saved my life. I always tell people that the military saved my life and Jesus saved my soul, which is I needed both at the time, because I couldn't have, I wouldn't listen to people. I was the most stubborn, she can testify. I was the most stubborn person that you would ever meet. People think I'm a nice guy now. I was not very nice, but ended up, thank God, in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is where we mainly reside now. And we had our first son, and that was a game changer. Because initially, I thought I was still Mr. Hardcore in the military. I thought I was better than anybody. I said my kids still call it a dad flex, because I look at something and I'm like, well, I can do that, or they think I can beat anybody. I'm still hard-headed if someone challenges me. I think me and Warren were talking last night, and I felt in my mind that he was challenging me to physical activities. And I was like, what time? And then, but in the military, I learned a lot of discipline and ended up, like I was saying, in Clarksville, Tennessee. So we had a choice to make, me and my wife did. Because of our backgrounds, we had a decision to make that if we were going to take the victim mentality, and especially as minorities, to say, we were dealt bad cards. Going back to our parents, both of us didn't have a father figure growing up. My mom was physically abused by my father, and he was an alcoholic. He had a life change towards the end, but for a lot of the years, we grew up living in hotels when my dad would go to jail. My wife didn't have a father at all, and my mom suffered a lot. As you can see, she didn't have an education. She didn't have much to give us, but she was proud. She was proud and taught us work ethic. A little bit of a sad, funny story. Now that we can talk about our past, my mom was discussing how she didn't have. She was never a believer in the welfare system and really didn't know anything about it. And so in California, those of you that are familiar with California, avocados are pretty common. Everybody has an avocado tree, lime tree, at least all Hispanics do. And she talks about, she was really emotional one night about that she didn't have enough food to give us, and that the only thing we could really eat was like a toast with avocado. And I told her, Mom, that's like a delicacy now. You pay $12 for that, and it's healthy all of a sudden. And then my mom thought we were suffering, and I told her we didn't really know, so she dealt with a lot. And going back to the victim mentality, I make light of it, but it goes to getting your mindset right. I got to meet some pretty cool people in the military that had changed my mindset. One of them I know Mr. Warren follows that became really famous is a guy named David Goggins. Me and him to this day are best friends. I see him probably once a month. He's actually who you want to get up here and speak, but he's going to have like 100 more F-bombs than the previous gentleman did. But I met people like that got me in the right mindset to where he's African American, and you'll never see him complaining about, he had a bad upbringing, but he just pressed on and didn't have excuses. He doesn't make excuses to this day. We're the same age, and we pretty much feel that we were joking around that you can take any person, pick 50 events, I'll beat you at 26 of them. You have to have the right that mindset of confidence. Again, the privilege. Or getting into the privilege, our kids in college nowadays are taught. There's this little exercise that they do where they line you up on a wall or whatever, and they start saying, "Hey, if you have two parents, take 2 steps forward. If you have a college education, take another 2 steps. If you have college debt, take." But what they're trying to do is give somebody a head start, and they say at the end, "You see, if it's a race, look how much more of a head start this guy has than you or these people have." Well, if you take any of those surveys, I'm always going to be no steps forward, right? So I'm going to be behind. Well, I've said, like, screw that. The mindset with me is I'm running a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm going to catch you. It's easier to catch somebody than to be in the front. So again, going back to the mindset of being straight. I was told, as you can imagine, no a lot. When we started off in Clarksville, Tennessee, when I was transitioned out of the military, I wanted to do real estate. Obviously, no bank's going to lend me any money, being a 20-some-year-old kid, and was told no a lot. So I had to make a decision. Do I complain? Do I use that as an excuse? Were they doing it because I'm Mexican? And the answer really is no. So I decided that we were going to open up a carpet cleaning business, which you might think is not very glamorous, which is not, but it gave us the head start, and I was selling cars on the side. As we started doing more real estate, you're still going to get no's, but you have to have the mindset of like you have to press on and continue to move forward. Funny thing happened. Every single bank in Clarksville, Tennessee, that ever told me no, we now own that building. So it happened. The last one didn't happen organically because once we kind of knew, we're like, oh, if we buy this will be the last one, which we now own the EDC building as well. We own where the district attorney's office is. When I worked out that deal with the district attorney's office, one of my best friends said, hey, did you ever think you'd be working out that kind of deal with the DA? So a lot of things have come, and then, again, going back to where we get acknowledgments now, but really, all these things happen when the foundation was laid by people in our city, and you probably have people in your communities that could be the next Leo that you don't need to go out recruiting. They could be there, and they could be advocates for your city. Friends of mine now, we've had again, I can be all over the place, and hopefully you guys ask some questions, but I've been able to meet some pretty incredible people and random friends from senators to governors. A few weeks ago, or I think it was like a month ago, one day, and I'll have the timelines wrong. I'm riding that little subway thing from the Senate to the floor to vote with the senator of Nebraska, which is a Cubs owner that we got to meet because they're big military supporters. We got to meet him, struck up a friendship. They invite us to like all the Cubs playoffs. We've been to the World Series. Next week, I'm in Guatemala in the village in the middle of nowhere. And then a week later, me and my son are in Las Vegas working out like crazy with David Goggins. So we have an incredible story. End up in Cuba, taking pictures like with the Castro family. Just incredible things have happened in our lives, and I lead it that it happens because of these relationships. And I was discussing with the gentleman, I forgot his name last night, that we tell our group that we're in the people business, whether we like it or not. I'm big on relationships. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do you maintain all these relationships? And the answer is pretty easy, is because they're genuine. So the relationship I have with Mr. Chavez, it's organic. I don't have to work at it. Obviously, some of us that are in sales, you have to, make the cold calls and have those meetings that you have to have. But the more important relationships are really based on being genuine friends. You want to hang out with your friends, right? It's easy. It doesn't have to be work. For me, it isn't work. So like the relationship I have with James, I could not talk to him for a year, but we can pick up right where we left off, So we are now having fun. Clarksville has been like here, boomed. Going back to the you'll be told no. We're doing incredible things. We're calculated, but we've done extraordinary things. One of the latest ventures that we got into is aviation, only honestly just because it seemed fun. And there was a need for hangar space in Clarksville. Most of you that know anything about aviation, there's not enough hangar space for all these airplanes. And I was told by everybody that I initially contacted, besides the sales guys for the airplanes, that there's no money in aviation. So sometimes we get it in our mind because people say it, that's the truth. So Cessna, which is a company that we mainly deal with in aviation, invited me and my son, because my younger son's a pilot, they invited us to Orlando to this airplane convention. And we get there to this event, and we walk in, and there's like, and I'm not exaggerating, there's harps playing, there's all these ice sculptures. You walk in, they start giving you lobster. And I turned to my son, I said, his name is Andrew. I said, Andrew, someone's making money off aviation. We just need to figure out how to do it. And then so we decided that we were going to do hangar space, airplane management. I mean, me and my wife, never in our wildest dreams. We now own 4 jets. We dry lease them. We manage planes. So that's a new endeavor. We enjoy it. It's easy to get around, honestly. But it's something that never in our wildest dreams. You can imagine me picking up my mom in a jet and her coming from here. She's just, speechless. But in saying all that, I would encourage you guys to grow your relationships. Hold on to the ones that are genuine, and more than anything, be a giver and not a taker. Now, I could sit here and up here and say, me and my wife did this all by ourselves, right? Self-made. I don't believe there's such a thing as a completely self-made. For me, I give credit to Clarksville only because of the people, So we live part-time in St. Petersburg, Florida. With the actual city we live in is called Treasure Island, because we do have some Serpros there. And people are always wondering why I don't move there. And I said, Clarksville's our home because of the people. I was mentored by several individuals in Clarksville. And I'm big on the word mentor because I had a real mentor. Nowadays, because of the internet and all these consultants, that you have to pay to mentor, that's not a mentor. The definition of a consultant is someone you pay. They're not your mentors if you're paying them. They're consultants. I would encourage each of one of you to find a mentor. The mentor that most touched my life was an old man I met with, he was, now that I'm getting up there in age, he wasn't that old, because I was in my early 20s, and I met a 66-year-old man named John Mayer. He was a Holocaust survivor that escaped Germany. He was the only one that made it out. Ended up in Clarksville, Tennessee, because of the military. And back then, they used to separate, when he was in the military, they used to separate, it was segregated, blacks, whites, and then others. So he got put with the others because he was a German citizen. Believe it or not, he had to swear allegiance to the U.S. every week. So if anybody had a bigger chip on their shoulder, or when I met him, never complained about his past and the bad cards that he was dealt, it was him. So he's the one that taught me of not to have excuses. He knew I was passionate about real estate, and I could talk about him for hours. But by the time I was 26 years old, I think he had lent me, or 25 years old, he had lent me $1 million. And those of you that do real estate, and it was only on seconds, not first, which those of you that are familiar with banking or real estate know that a second is worthless, really, if you're not going to pay the first. There's no real collateral there. He took me under his wing. He would spend time with me every week. The best business decision I ever made in my life, and I don't even know how I came up with this, because I was pretty dumb at the time, is I told him, I'm going to pay you, and I'm never going to miss a payment, but there's only one catch. I'm never going to mail you a payment. You have to come pick it up. And that formed a relationship that lasted until a couple years ago when he passed, where I would see him minimum of a week. Worst case scenario, I talked to him on the phone. There's other people in our community that were there, but he was the one that really invested into me. And going back to the word mentor, which some of you are, or some of you are mentees, a mentor is like a like a father figure, so to speak. You know, when you're helping your kids grow up, you don't ask them for money. You know, how many of you that have kids have gone up to your kids and say, hey, can I borrow $100 or pay me $100 and I'll give you good advice? So that's some food for thought that I would like to leave you with, because a mentor can really, really change your life. It made a huge difference in me and my wife, and getting in the right mindset. And those of you that are working for other people, you know, you have to submit, you know, sometimes to their authority. And kind of like I did to my mentor. A really cool phrase that I heard one time, and I don't know where it came from. I didn't make any of these up. I just use these little phrases that you need to be faithful to another man's vision in order to qualify for one of your own. I don't know if that makes sense. So some of you that want to be leaders, you know, you have to submit, almost like being a good son in order to be a good father. You know, you can't have one without the other. So I would encourage you, if you're trying to move up in your position where you're at, look at your leaders. You know, like the gentleman was speaking about earlier. You know, sometimes when I was a lower enlisted person, I would look at the decisions that were made by the higher ups and would think that they were the most ridiculous, you know, protocols or whatever, decrees that were put out that didn't make any sense. And now that we have, we're blessed that we have former mayors that work for us, command sergeant majors. We have a colonel that was in a bin Laden raid that now works for me. I mean, it's just incredible. And now when you hear them talk and the decisions that were made, you're like, oh, dang it. It makes sense of why they were making those decisions. So I would encourage you to ask the question, you know, if you're in doubt. Or, let's be truthful, there are bad leaders. So just become the good leader. You know, you don't need a title to be a leader, is one other thing that I learned. If you need a title to be considered a leader, then you're not going to ever be a real leader. You know, you don't need a title. You don't need any accolades, you know, because a true leader will give credit to his team and take all the responsibility, is one of the biggest things that I've learned. I really want to thank you guys for inviting me. Again, I can talk about certain subjects for a long time, and hopefully you guys ask me some questions. I know we're getting closer to lunch, but would love to take an.
You were sharing last night about your relationship with David, but his mother. Can you share a little bit about what she thought of you guys at the time and what she thinks about you now?
So those of you that don't know David, we're you know, a lot of people say, hey, I don't throw it out there, you know, like that, you know, because like the gentleman was saying, I forgot his name, you know, you get up here in Fib, he only likes like 2 people in the world, and me, for some reason, he likes. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm stubborn. It goes back to how stubborn I was. As crazy as it seems, you know, getting in the right mindset is so important. I don't want to sound like cocky, but I really do believe that to a fault, my kids make fun of me. Like, I started playing pickleball. I have to leave right after this unless someone challenged me at one-on-one pickleball. I would stay for that, actually. You in? Right after this? I'm serious. No, I got a paddle. No, one-on-one. I'm staying. Anyways, I know we have to go, but that's a good thing about having your own plane. We can leave whenever we want. Can we play at lunch? All right. And I just started playing like 4 months ago, but took it real serious because someone challenged me. Say again?
My money's on
Well, I don't know. He looks like he's in pretty good shape, but if not, it's best out of 100. Going back to your question, you know, I was really rough coming out of the gangs straight into the military, so it was a good fit, and I had good leaders that kind of saw that. So when we got to Fort Campbell, so I was stationed with David for 5 years, and we went through some of the hardest training. And one of the hardest, craziest things that you would think, one of my biggest accomplishments in life is we were working out with this Special Forces guy, which is in the Army side of the Special Forces. And we were doing these 2-minute underwater exercises that we made up ourselves. So we'd put, if you're familiar with scuba, you put on all the weights. So we'd put up like 50 or 60 pounds worth of weights, and we'd go down to a 10-foot pool, and then you tie yourself, and then you push yourself up and barely try to get breathe. Well, David's about an inch or two taller than me, and we had to do this for 2 minutes. And it really not really possible to do. And, you know, he obviously did it. Then it was my turn. The Special Forces guy couldn't do it. And I ended up doing it. I really wasn't doing it. I was just not breathing. And when I couldn't breathe anymore, it was 1 minute and 58 seconds. And the Special Forces guy saw that I was almost dying. And he goes, "Man, you did it. Good job." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks, man." Like, and then David looked at me and he goes, "You know you didn't do it." And then I was like, "Oh, dear God," like I didn't want to do it. And then I just like put the stuff back on. And for some extraordinary reason, I did it. And again, I have all these accolades or whatever. But as far as self-fulfillment, you don't need the jets. You don't need the stuff. You need assurance within yourself and the confidence. And the military did that for me. When me and my wife got to Clarksville, Tennessee, we didn't have anything because, you know, our parents couldn't help us with anything, and making $346 every 2 weeks is not a lot of money. And so David actually lived close to Fort Campbell, which was a 2.5-hour drive, I believe. So he went home, and we got to meet his mom over the years. And she saw me, and even in the military, she said I was wearing my baggy pants, and he was a loudmouth. You know, he's still the same. But imagine him lower enlisted. And his mom, about 6 months ago, she's just like, she talks like him. So she's like, out of all the people, she's like, "You two effers made it. I can't believe it." She said, "I looked at you and you're like this jacked up cholo from LA. And David, of course, you know, David's all jacked up, and you guys made it." So that's a story. They helped us out with furniture and stuff, and we're still friends with them. Goes back to the relationships. It was just genuine.
Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
What tips or advice would you give economic developers and how they can better support serial entrepreneurs in their community like you?
That's a great question. Be supportive, and to the gentleman's point, just be truthful. You know, we have, and so the video you can't really see it. If you Google our website, you'll see that there's a misconception that there are some, but there's a misconception that entrepreneurs are greedy and they just want to make money. That's far from the truth, in my opinion. We just like to see success and invest, and a lot of people want to make a difference. So in Clarksville, there was talk ever since Mr. Chavez was there about doing a co-working space. And so the college would meet, everybody would meet, but nobody wanted to pay for it. I got fed up one day and met with everybody and said, "Hey, if you guys just support it, I'll build a thing." And of course, there's naysayers that'll say it's not going to work because the city was getting behind it. The college had got behind it, and we were going to open it during COVID. And right now, it's one of the most successful redevelopments in our downtown. Basically, a 50,000 square foot building that was owned by the newspaper press. We call it the press. had 7 people in it when we bought it, 50,000 square feet downtown. Now there's about 500 people rolling in through that thing every day, which helps the local. I'm not in the restaurant business, nor I want to be, but we help out the local economy. So that came from saying, hey, this guy might be a little crazy, but let's see if this works. There's other incentives that do work, in my opinion, that push people over the edge to do the projects. As you saw in the video, we're building which will be the biggest building downtown Clarksville, which is a combined 330,000 square feet, I want to say, downtown Clarksville. And we did, it's the first time I've ever taken any assistance other than support, which was through the TIF, and it happened to be in an opportunity zone. That really pushed it over the edge because obviously since COVID, interest rates have gone up. Construction costs are up and rentals have kind of stabilized. So the TIF really pushed it over the edge because we would have waited. And the TIF has a deadline. So I would get behind them. There's guys in every community that come in that really have good intentions. As a matter of fact, here in Charlotte, a friend of mine that's one of the bigger Serpros bought the Charlotte area not too long ago. They're from Alabama, and we're helping them staff their Serpro here. So he's someone that I think will grow that Serpro. So there's people coming in that you guys can get behind that would be local.
You have to talk about the foundation, the work you're doing in South America and Mexico.
Yeah,
Just
so
a couple minutes.
we've been going to Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, Cuba for many years. It started years ago when I got invited to go on a mission trip, and that changed my mindset on giving back. So we decided to start a foundation, but the foundation is not for us to raise money. What we created at the press, it's kind of like a mini version of what happened to me. Again, I was blessed going back to community. I got lucky and blessed to get initially linked up with the right people. As I was transitioning out of the military, I ended up with meeting Larry Riccone, which is our attorney that James knows, all the right people that ended up not being crooks. And that's the same thing that we're doing with the foundation. We're trying to get the foundations to network together so they can use the resources amongst themselves and be able to do it more effectively. One of the great success stories is when we were taking stuff to Mexico and Central America, we had a little warehouse. And our pastor connected us with this lady named Sherry that had an organization called YAPAX. And we decided to let her organize our stuff and she could use the space. So it was a win-win. Well, within 2 weeks, she organized the stuff so well. It was way better than what we were doing. So we shut ours down and then just started supporting her. And if you Google YAPAX, you'll see the warehouse. It's a 50,000 square foot warehouse that we let them use for free. But more turnover happens there, and then all she does now is help other nonprofits. So now when we just had the tornado hit Clarksville recently, even the city government was meeting there to organize the relief effort. So it was our warehouse. Again, we get a lot of the credit, but really she was doing the work, but it was a team effort. It always works if you don't care who gets the credit. It's when people start fighting about who's going to get the credit, and it happens in your industry as well, of who brought the deal. But as long as it gets done, I think it's a win-win for your communities.